Chaparral Communications, celebrating a rich 25-year history, presents Satellite Industry Pioneers. This is the story about some of the people who brought satellite reception to your home and what motivated them. In 1945, the highly regarded science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke envisioned a stationary satellite ring around Earth that would allow instant broadcast and reception of electronic programming to anyone in the world. The Clarke Belt, as it is known today, contains literally hundreds of satellites in stationary orbit around the Earth, just over 22,200 miles in the sky. After the Russians began the space race by launching the world's first satellite, Kennedy made his famous challenge to NASA and the American public.
A clearly leading role in space achievement, which in many ways may hold the key to our future on Earth.
His urgent task speech was inspired by the desire to reach the moon and establish a viable satellite communication system, all of which he felt would contribute to world peace. By 1969, the United States had its first man on the moon and several geosynchronous satellites launched, capable of TV broadcast. The Telstar, CENTCOM-2, and Earlybird satellites were the basis of the first global network of broadcasting satellites. The challenge, however, was back on Earth, where the only way to receive satellite information was from large and very expensive dishes. In 1967, Dr. Bruce Lusignan, a Stanford professor visionary, challenged a class of 37 grad students to create a communication system for developing nations using satellite technology. Lusignan's vision was to work on meaningful projects that would make a difference to the world. His goal involved the development of high-powered broadcast satellites and thousands of small and inexpensive dish receivers. The Advanced System for Communications and Education in National Development Study, known as ASCEND, was considered a major fork in the road of development and had several reasons for its impetus. One was to bring effective education to all of the nation's primary and secondary school students and provide continued training in teaching skills, agricultural methods, health practices, and other skills vital to a growing nation. In addition, satellite could deliver an efficient communication system to coordinate the expanding commerce of the country and allow broadcast of cultural and entertainment programming supporting a sense of national purpose. In 1968, two of Dr. Lusignan's students, Bob Taggart and Jim Janke, were selected by NASA and Stanford to design a small dish receiver for the ASCEND study. The key requirements were high volume, low cost, and small size. At that time, a dish receiver system for satellite cost over $500,000 and had a diameter of 100 feet. A year later, after several prototypes and design tests, Janke, Taggart, and Lusignan tested their first small-scale satellite dish receiver. This dish system, capable of being built for less than $200, was the first of its kind and was featured in Microwaves magazine. In the coming years, NASA developed and launched the ATS-6 satellite, the very first high-powered direct broadcast satellite, focused on educational TV. In 1974, Janke and Taggart installed two of their 7-foot ASCEND dishes in Denver, Colorado and Roundup, Montana, and received television from the ATS-6 as part of a larger test of the satellite transmission. Other small dishes were also used on the test. In total, about 120 dishes were installed and tested in 23 states across the country. In 1975, the ATS-6 was repositioned to serve India, where it supported the broadcast of educational programming to over 2,400 locations scattered throughout the country. Dr. Lusignan's dream had become reality in just a matter of 8 years. In 1975, HBO began using satellites to broadcast programming, by transmitting the Thrilla in Manila via SATCOM to 2 cable companies. Soon after, Ted Turner began broadcasting WTCG, later to become WTBS, to 27 cable companies. Now there were interesting programs to watch via satellite. In 1976, at his ranch in San Andreas, California, Taylor Howard, a Stanford professor and engineering hobbyist, built his own 15-foot satellite dish antenna, amplifier, and receiver, and began watching programming at home. Howard commemorated this event by sending a check to HBO for $100, believing that reception of programming was thievery unless it was paid for. Congress later confirmed Howard's beliefs in 1984 when it passed the Satellite TV Viewers' Rights Act, which stated that access to satellite TV could not be denied if viewers were willing to pay a fair price for the service. Also in 1976, a rebel by the name of Bob Cooper, editor of the Community Antenna Television Journal, envisioned the emerging market for the home satellite dish. He soon began publishing how-to manuals from Howard and others, and launched the U.S. satellite television industry by organizing trade shows. In 1979, Bob Taggart started Chaparral Communications in his garage, and the company's first product was the 10-foot version of the Ascend dish. The price was $699. In 1980, Taylor Howard and Bob Taggart met at a Cooper-promoted trade show and formed a partnership to develop satellite products for mass usage. Howard was elected president of the Satellite Industry Trade Association. He provided tremendous leadership and vision for the next 20 years to the industry he helped create. The Chaparral team of managers, designers, engineers, and sales professionals grew the company to over 200 people and $50 million in global annual sales of component parts for satellite reception. As the 1980s ended, the sales of satellite dishes exploded with the launch of smaller, much less expensive units. This happened first in Europe with the launch of Rupert Murdoch's B-Sky B on the Astra 1 satellite in 1989. Followed by digital services of DirecTV in 1994, and then by the Dish Network launched in 1996 by satellite pioneer and visionary Charlie Ergen. Now, millions could afford to enjoy the benefits of satellite TV. Now in its 25th year, after the untimely passing of Taylor Howard, Bob Taggart continues to lead Chaparral Communications in developing components for the satellite industry. The company focuses on international markets, spreading the initial vision of satellite technology as a positive human impact to regions where satellite can provide the largest benefit. Over its life, Chaparral can claim that its satellite components and parts are being used in virtually every country on the globe, and the Chaparral name is regarded as one of the best-known brands in the satellite business. Microwaves and RF Magazine paid honor to two of the pioneers in the satellite industry in the July 1996 issue. The tribute states, "Nearly 26 years ago, two doctoral candidates at Stanford University, James Janke and Robert Taggart, designed a $200 satellite communications earth station to receive 2.62 gigahertz signals. This system was in many ways a forerunner of modern direct digital satellite services." Chaparral Communications, a storied history with a legacy of satellite industry pioneers.